We have a chance of some severe thunderstorms today. The Storm Prediction Center is specifically looking at damaging hail as the biggest potential. This is going to be a more technical look at things. I'm meteorologist Hans Leach bringing you today's update. First off, 80 degrees in March, that did happen yesterday. Before that, it only happened once at PDX and two additional times in downtown Portland, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. It tied the record high temperature in March at 80 degrees flat. How the National Weather Service worked is the most recent temperature will be considered the official record high temperature, even though it is a tie. But for all intents and purposes, just consider it an official tie. So I'm actually going to change my usual method. I'm actually going to go over to the Storm Prediction Center website and show some other models here. And first off, I'm going to be showing the Thunderstorm outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. And this is from today from about 1 p.m. through 5 p.m. Pacific time, and it shows about a 40% to 70% chance of thunderstorms anywhere in the Willamette Valley and Southwest Washington, up to about Tacoma or so for the Puget Sound area, which is pretty rare to see us in that blue area. Normally, when we have our thunderstorms, it's normally more of this brown area. And the Storm Prediction Center only really goes out to a 1 day outlook for these thunderstorm chances. Then I will change it over to the convective outlook that I showed on yesterday's video, and this is the updated one that released at about 11 o'clock on Wednesday night, and we have been upgraded to a slight chance for severe thunderstorms with a marginal chance if you're outside the western valleys from about Eugene on up to a little bit north of Seattle. And that includes the Columbia Basin. So going over the categories specifically, not really a large chance of tornadoes according to the Storm Prediction Center, and I do generally agree with this because I'm not really seeing a lot of wind shear that would cause these tornadoes to form, though I won't be surprised if there's a weak isolated tornado. For damaging winds, this is going to be winds of at least 58 miles per hour, about a 5 to 15% within any 25 miles of a point. And then damaging hail. This is the thing the Storm Prediction Center is most concerned about and is what triggered the slight risk versus the marginal risk for our area. This is a zoomed in image, so I've switched it over to this to make it a little bit easier to see. So for anywhere in the yellow, which is the entirety of the Willamette Valley, plus the western Washington lowlands, on up to about Everett, and it also includes most of the Cascade foothills and the eastern coast range foothills as well. You're looking at anywhere from about a 15 to a 30% chance of 1 inch diameter or greater hail within 25 miles of any given point. So, for instance, let's say you're in downtown Portland, that means you'd have probably, let's do somewhere in the middle, about a 22% chance of seeing hail of at least quarter size within 25 miles of that point. The hatched area that overlaps almost the entirety of the yellow area is a 10% probability of significant hail, which is 2 inches or greater. Now, this is more like a hen egg or a small lime. That would be extremely damaging if a cell were to form. I personally think most of the hail that we would get would be not in this significant category and it would just be limited to a few isolated cells. I'm also thinking, like yesterday, those cells will primarily be limited to east of Interstate 5 or in the Cascade foothills. And then going over to some of the weather models here, and I'm specifically showing these more for both timing progression and how unusual this is when it comes to our convective available potential energy, which is how we track the available energy for thunderstorms. So this is the HRRR model, a high resolution rapid refresh, and this is the most recent updates, the 6Z, which came out at about 11 o'clock our time. And like this is right around 5 o'clock, and it shows some severe cells, especially over the Cascade foothills, but also some over the northern Portland metro area. And if I rewind this, it really starts developing probably right around 3 o'clock. And then if I go into the soundings here, if I zoom in as well so you can see the numbers a little bit more clearly, it's showing the Cape numbers. This is right around where the Portland airport is. A number of 3,579 joules per kilogram. So, for reference, in most of our miniature thunderstorm outbreaks, 500 is considered a pretty good number for us. This is 7 times that. This is numbers you would more expect to see out in the Midwest versus in the Pacific Northwest. And then also, you could see that the winds at the surface appear to be a little bit more easterly. That would promote warmer temperatures throughout the day, but quickly change as you go higher up into the atmosphere. It's not enough shear for me to say that's going to cause a tornado, but it is ample shear enough to promote the updrafts necessary for significant hail. And let me zoom out to show you a different model. It's the only other one that I can get soundings on pretty easily. This is the NAM model, also known as the North American model, or at least for snowfall. This model I personally don't like using. I jokingly call it the no accuracy model because it tends to underdo our east wind setup snowfall. But for thunderstorms, it does really well. Now, normally I personally also find that the HRRR model also underdoes the coverage of the severe thunderstorm setups that we have. And I think a lot of that's just because terrain influences as well. So I rewinded this to the 3 o'clock time frame, and moving this forward, you could see cells developing mainly from about Highway 99W eastward, with a significant cell being over the Cascade foothills, and that progresses through the Portland area and goes northwards towards the Seattle metro by about 8 o'clock. So rewinding this to show you the convective available potential energy on this. And this is a little bit lower than the HRRR model, but still, it shows that at the surface, it's showing over 1,300 for the Cape. And then if I move this forward an hour, Cape pretty much doesn't change it for the North American models. So normally when we're looking at Cape for the Pacific Northwest, it's pretty narrow. So this dotted line is one way we can look at Cape, and if that's to the right of this red line, that is the potential energy that we have for thunderstorms if we have a trigger. We do tomorrow. Move that closer to that red line, and that's much more typical for our thunderstorm setups. I'm also going to go over lastly the discussion and pretty much rehashing what I talked about, but specifically some things that I didn't. So the Storm Prediction Center specifically says that the surface-based cape should approach 1,000 joules per kilogram, which is below some of the forecast models that I have been showing. Also, while I don't have a forecast map of this, the graph model is showing cape right around 1,500 joules per kilogram as well. And then also, the latest update shows that they are expecting possibly exceeding golf ball sized hail, which is about 1.75 inches. But like me, they're also saying a brief tornado can't be ruled out, but pretty much it's going to be isolated. So going back to my regular slide show here, and I'm going to advance it a few slides. I do expect a severe thunderstorm watch to be issued a few hours before the onset of the severe thunderstorms. And just to show how unusual this is for specifically the Willamette Valley, this is a map of every severe thunderstorm watch that has been issued for every National Weather Service office in the United States. So in the Great Plains states and in the Midwest, you're looking at about anywhere from 200 to about 750, depending on which office you're looking at. But move on up to the Pacific Northwest, and you can see the numbers drop dramatically. The Portland National Weather Service office only has issued 6 severe thunderstorm watches, or correction, this Storm Prediction Center has issued 6 severe thunderstorm watches that cover the Portland National Weather Service's area of responsibility. That includes the severe thunderstorm watch from last August. The last time a severe thunderstorm watch will be centered this far west, assuming it's over the slight risk for severe thunderstorms, will have been June 4th, 2009. Go further north to the Seattle National Weather Service office, and they've only issued 1 severe thunderstorm watch from the Storm Prediction Center. So it's even more rare up there. So pretty unprecedented times. And then also, I generally don't like to use the word historic before an event actually happens, but we have never been in the hatch mark for 2-inch diameter hail or larger. Those records date back to 2002, similar to these severe thunderstorm watches. So, on to my forecast notes. Personally, if you just said, give me the chance of a tornado happening anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, I'm raising it slightly to 20%, but that still means there's a 4 out of 5 chance we won't really see any tornadoes in the Pacific Northwest. And even for our most common tornado setups, that's still a little bit above normal. I'm now increasing the chance of hail to severe levels about a 70% chance, especially with that updraft motion and the little bit of shear that will be available, plus the convective available potential energy. Gusty winds up to 65 miles per hour. I am expecting in the most severe cells. More commonly, I'm thinking it'll be probably closer to about 40 to 55 miles per hour in the more widespread cells. And then Thursday evening, I'm delaying the timing a little bit. I'm expecting a little bit more widespread gusts. I'm also dialing back the strength to gusts being only in the 30s in the valleys and the 40s along the coast, as I'm thinking that windstorm will make landfall a little bit further west than previously expected. Highest chances of thunderstorms are in the Cascade foothills, with it being probably about now a 70 to 80% chance of seeing any sort of thunderstorms. And now most high resolution models now show at least isolated supercells. If you believe the HRRR model, that convective available potential energy would suggest a little bit more widespread, though not as widespread as the Midwest thunderstorms. Though if you're looking at more the North American model, it would be more isolated and in the areas I have mentioned, with a slight chance of non-severe thunderstorms on Thursday also existing. And to show you how big hail diameter is and what's considered severe versus what isn't, normal hail is pea size or less for our area. Severe hail, as defined by the Storm Prediction Center, is anywhere from a 1-inch diameter or greater. So that's quarter size and up. Significantly severe is anywhere on this right side. So that's 2 inches or greater. 1 inch is where damage becomes possible. 2 inches is where you're going to be concerned about not having a windshield after the hailstorm is over. So most likely, I'm thinking the most extreme hail will probably be in this 1.5-inch range. The record for Washington State, I believe, is about ping pong size hail. Don't quote me on that, as I don't have the records in front of me. I do have the records for Oregon in front of me, and that was about a small lime-size hail of about 2 inches in Seaside a couple years ago. Moving on to our timeline and temperatures shown here will be for the Portland metro area. I do anticipate the day to start pretty nice. High temperatures will top out around the same as yesterday. That is because I am expecting it to be on the more sunnier side of the solutions compared to it being clouding up at around noon. I'm anticipating the storms will start probably around the 2 to 3 o'clock hour at the soonest. Not everywhere will see storms probably until closer to about 4 to 5 o'clock, where most areas will see at least some rumbles of thunder. It's rare for me to say that, or any meteorologist in the Pacific Northwest. In fact, I'm actually hearing that some storm chasers are coming up from their usual chasing spots to their target is more Seattle than Portland. I would personally argue come to Portland over Seattle because the road network is a little bit more robust here in the Willamette Valley and Clark County compared to that of the eastern Puget Sound. Around the 5 o'clock time frame is when I anticipate the severe storms will peak for the Portland metro area, and temperatures will also crash quickly. Rather than the high temperature being around 5 o'clock, which if you're looking at this temperature profile, I would anticipate high temperatures probably about 83 or 84 degrees, which is still possible for March. The temperature will instead be right around the mid 60s. Thunderstorms will die off as we go into the evening and transition over to plain old rain, probably right around sunset, which is around 7:30 this time of year, with low temperatures being about 48 degrees. So on to our 7-day forecast for the southern Willamette Valley. I'm anticipating high temperatures around 75 degrees today, cooling off to the 50s for the rest of the foreseeable future. After we start our thunderstorm chances, the only day that I really see as like, okay, this is for sure going to be dry right now is Saturday, though can't rule out a very early morning shower. Sunday, I do anticipate will be mainly dry, but there's just a higher chance of rain before the sun goes down. And then low temperatures will be right around 40 degrees beyond Friday morning. And then for the Portland metro area, high temperature again 80 degrees today before the thunderstorms roll in and crash those temperatures back into the upper 40s. And then temperatures will remain in the 50s for the next 3 days. Showers will remain primarily during the evening hours on Thursday. And as we go into Friday morning, that's the greatest threat for the slightly gustier than normal wind, though nothing insignificant by our windstorm standards. And then, like the South Valley, mainly dry Sunday, chance of some showers mixing in, though I do anticipate to be a little warmer than the South Valley, with highs in the low 60s before cooling back up to a little bit below normal for this time of year, with highs in the mid 50s and low temperatures primarily being in the low to mid 40s. So that is going to be it for this video. I don't know if I'm going to come out with another video update tomorrow doing a recap of all this. I'm leaning towards doing this. I'm also not feeling 100% right now in of terms of like symptoms. So I don't know if you could tell in my voice or not, but I still want to get the information out to all you to keep you as informed as possible and as safe as possible. Lastly, if there happens to be a tornado warning tomorrow, I know most of you don't have basements here in the Pacific Northwest. Just get to a interior room and put as many walls between you and outside as possible. And with that, stay safe out there and take care.